people or groups that are going to bring us together and have a more common unity in our community?
Well, there have always been big white people in this town who told little white people, who told big black people, who told little black people what to do. The process of communicating in this community has not changed. The issue becomes always who in this community, either individually or corporate-wise, stands to lose the most if we don't arrive at one community, one goal. I've got some ideas, but I don't want to share this public forum, because if I do, they might not accept the invitation that I extended to them.
Jobs. And actually, you mentioned the highlight on art in the New York Times. Of course, Art Basel last week with the tremendous support and increase in the amount of people participating in that. The Miami Art Museum, which will have a new name and big benefactor. Do you see a growth of Miami as a major international art destination, one? And secondly, will we be seeing more jobs if we have casinos, or
that's too many questions. No follow-up question. Let me just
this will be on your final exam.
hang on. Thank you for the question. At the end of the day, those who get my weekly newsletter know that the heading is "We're in the good news business." I'm in the good news business. I've cut not necessarily my political teeth, but my administrative and political teeth in this community in a place called Model Cities. Many years ago, and hopefully we made some differences there. Let me just talk about jobs. For the last 17 months, it's been a global, recession, whatever you want to call it. For the last 17 months, as reported by the state of Florida, the hospitality sector in this community has added jobs. Now, when a company comes to town and they have 25 or 50 employees, the governor comes and everybody shuts down. But if a new hotel opens, for instance, the JW Marriott Marquis downtown, it's got 300 rooms, basically 300 employees. So we're going to start having these as major events. City Hall, the restaurant, our friend Stephen Haas, they employ 80 people. 80 people. So we're going to start celebrating these jobs, and they're at all price points. And by the way, there's great mobility in the hospitality industry. Great mobility. Folks that start at one level and move up to be general managers. And there are, yes, well-paying jobs, but you can move up, and the top of the leadership are pretty well-paying jobs. But 17 straight months of adding jobs. I want to take something that's a negative and make it into a positive. A negative, we saw all of the buildings downtown, the condos that were built, all these new buildings, they couldn't fill them, quote, overbuilding. But as a result of that cycle now, you have, and it says the downtown Bay Forum, so I'm going to talk about this great new emerging downtown. You now have young families living downtown, raising families, and just like when we started our careers, we worked up the food chain, we worked up that food chain, and we had those opportunities, I acknowledge that. But you've now got some vitality, some energy in a city called Miami, in the downtown core, they've never had before, as a result of a bad thing. Those young families never could have spent $1 million on a condo across from Miami today. But now, we're at 701 Brickell next to, and Marty Fine and I look out our window, and you see little scooters out there, and you see little pets. But it's given our community some new vitality that we haven't had before. But I'll say it again. As flawed as we are, we travel the world. We are now one of the top global destinations in the world today. Art Basel will tell you that. And you talk about us, we are now one of the art centers in the world. If you read the enormous amount of ink this time on Basel, pretty much the art world has agreed that Art Basel Miami Beach is now better than Art And these are Swiss people, they're very precise. And they created this satellite show. And now even by all of their admission, this great show in Miami on Miami Beach is as good or better. Just a brief quote. In 2006, the New York Times had a headline, Art Basel, Miami Beach, Art Costco for billionaires. Now, in the 40 years I've been here, you could never put those three words together. Art, Miami, and billionaires. Arguably more private jets than the Super Bowl. So the town is growing up. We are flawed, I'll admit that. But that's a reason to move forward in a positive way. I dwell on a positive because I'm in sales. I'm in sales, I'm in marketing. And you would want that. Mr. Fair pays me, and I do serve on a black hospitality initiative with Greater Miami. So we're trying to do our part, but I'll say it again. The future is very bright. We've got a rail connector. It's about infrastructure, too. About infrastructure. Next May, we'll have a rail connector, basically, to a new airport. So, 48% of our visitors aren't from the U.S., and what we're selling around the world is you're going to come to a new airport and take public transportation into the downtown core, into your hotels. What are you going to do? You're going to spend money, and what are you going to do? Support jobs. That's what the great cities in the world have, is those kind of public transportation, Harvey, public transportation to the downtown core.
I pick up a little bit of what Bill
Yes.
talking about.
Are you as sunny and optimistic as Mr. Teller?
Absolutely.
And we're going to hear from Mr. Lewis and Mr. Rubin, and then open it up to questions and discussion. I don't think we have another cordless mic, so people will have to come up here. But go ahead.
I'm not as pessimistic as Bill is. I'm a little more optimistic. But he brought up a couple of things that I think, so did Telfair, that I think we're talking about. First of all, that transportation and Art Basel. I had dinner with one of the artists who came in for Art Basel, and he said, how can this be a real city when there's no transportation to get you anywhere? And I don't mean from the airport for the visitor, I mean for the people who work here. If you want to create jobs, you've got to have more public transportation. I think it's one of the three really major needs that we have is transportation for the people who actually do the work. The second thing that we need to have is a better educational system. If we're going to have those wonderful jobs, we need to make certain that everybody gets a better education and has a better opportunity for education than we have now. The greatest divide we have in this community, I'll disagree with you a little bit, the greatest divide is the educated and the uneducated, the people who don't have the opportunity to get the education they need. And without that good education, there's nothing else that we're going to be able to do for an awful lot of folks in Liberty City or in Conference. It doesn't matter where they are. If they haven't got a good education, we're going to be limited in the kinds of jobs we can get and the kinds of things we do here. So I think that those two divides are really, really important to us, the divide in transportation, the divide in education. If we can improve those things, this community has a much brighter future.
What's the third one?